We are live.
What up, what up, what up?
Wait, no, you guys, because my voice is super low.
Robert, this
Welcome.
is all you need to say today. Just periodically throughout the live, just go, I am Batman.
Yeah, I
That's
was
all
about to say, I am Batman.
your
I am
voice is
father,
primed.
you know, whatever.
No, here, listen. What's up, all you cool cats? Welcome to KBR Smooth Jazz.
That works too. That's not bad. Yeah.
Nobody likes smooth jazz, Robert. Nobody.
Say that to La La Land.
Well, we could throw a little Kenny G on in the background. Come on now. Don't
That's
hate
right.
on smooth jazz.
That's right.
We were just playing a trivia game with my kiddos yesterday. It's an American, it's kind of like Trivial Pursuit, but it's all American trivia. So history, geography, general, trivia from America. And one of the questions was, what instrument did former President Bill Clinton play? And everybody was like, I'm like, come on, guys, the Animaniacs used to sing about it on the intro. And like, that's how I, walked them through how it was a saxophone. And they're like, Animaniacs? I'm like, you guys are not my family. It was great. And then I referenced Kenny G, and then they all looked at me funny again.
You're old, man. You're old.
Whatever. Saxophone's a timeless instrument. Have you guys ever, now we're way off on a tangent, there's saxophones in my head now. Have you ever seen the movie Better Off Dead? From years and years ago, it was 80s movies with, I think, John Cusack. He was in high school, foreign exchange student, came over to live with the neighbors. They wound up fixing up this really nice black Camaro. No?
I think it sounds familiar.
Okay. Well, there's a great scene in that where he takes the foreign exchange student on like a little mini date to the burger joint that he works at, but it's closed, so he has the keys, and he makes her a burger, and then he plays a very nice saxophone tune as a serenade for the romantic dinner at the burger joint. But it was a great tune though. Good sax. Anyway.
I mean, that's one way to get clients.
Right? If I could play the saxophone, I would play it for all of my clients. But I cannot play instruments. Anyway.
All right, so who's got some pretty interesting topics for us today?
It's all Chris. I got nothing.
Yeah, I would love to talk about lenders. And Walter sent us a little bit of stuff earlier. Kind of the lending market's getting hit hard, but on my side of things, I'm getting hit hard by lenders. So I would like to openly talk to the lenders out there that are looking for business, because we're all in the same industry. Would like to give you guys a little bit of tidbits from a producing agent. Number one, I'm tired of hearing from your VA. Sick and tired of hearing your VA calling on your behalf to set up a meeting with you whenever you could just call me yourself. Number two, if you don't have any value to bring me, don't call me. Everybody has options and everything else. If you don't want to be a business partner, don't call me. Right? And don't call the other agents either, because they don't need anybody with their mouth open looking and begging for business if you don't want to actively prospect. For me, actively prospecting and waiting for agents to hand you something is not actively prospecting. That's actively prospecting for someone to prospect for you.
Yeah.
So that is my take on what all the lenders are doing currently. And I get about 5 phone calls a day.
Wow.
It's pretty rough in this market. I get really tired of it. I have asked to be taken off multiple lists, and I still keep getting calls from so-and-so that manages the realtor group or whatever else, or they feed me some kind of line of BS of, hey, we really like what you're doing. Yeah, of course you really like what I'm doing. Selling homes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We saw what you're doing on social media. We saw this. We saw that. We've been following your profile. Like, oh, really? What was the last house I closed? Yeah, exactly. So feeding me a line of BS doesn't work.
Yep. Here's how I agree with you, right? If you're, first of all, from a guy who teaches relationship-based conversations, if you personally, don't call me. Don't ever expect to do business with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't use a VA to make calls to people. If I want to do business with somebody, I'm going to call them and have a conversation with them. So that is not a way to start a business. If you need a VA to wrangle some stuff on the back end and help some and move some information, that's all fine and dandy. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to establish a connection and build a relationship with somebody, it better be you on the other end of the conversation. That's any business. I don't care what industry you're in. Absolutely.
So why don't you guys give some examples of
smooth jazz?
Smooth jazz. Why don't you give some examples of great things that lenders have done that have impressed you?
So the number one thing that I think any lender should start their conversation off with is, hey, I'm so-and-so, would love to build a relationship with you. What are your goals and how can I help? So many lenders vomit out the mouth all the BS that none of us care about and all this programs and everything else they do, rather than just asking. Just ask. Say, what do you need? What do you need from me? What can I do to help? Lenders don't do that. They vomit out the mouth like, I got this. This is why I'm better than the other guy. You're not any better than the other guy. You're not. You're not any better unless you actually know what the agents need, because you ask them exactly what they need. And the good agents can tell you exactly what they need, exactly what they want. Do they want pre-approved buyers? Are they trying to grow their real estate team? Do they need active agents that want to grow? Like, what is the strategy behind calling an agent and asking for stuff, but not being willing to ask them what they need and be willing to give them something? So all of my partners, they either send me business one way or another. They send me some agents that might be looking to grow. Whatever that relationship looks like, they know what I want and need. So that's the bare minimum of what that can look like. And that's not a costly thing. That doesn't cost the lenders any money, right? To actually serve what my needs are. It doesn't cost them anything. A lot of lenders, I've had tons of people, hey, we'll pay for marketing. We'll split this. We'll split that. I'm like, okay, we can all throw spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks, or we can actually get down to business and do what I actually need. I don't need spaghetti at a wall.
I mean, it's good to have the spaghetti if you get hungry later.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that, right? You're focusing on on lenders knowing how to build a relationship, but man, how many agents do the same thing?
They do the same crap. Right?
When they're reaching out to a potential client, when they're prospecting for new buyers, new sellers, I'm amazing. I can do this. And I sell houses really fast. And I did all these houses and I can do that. Never do they go, hey, what can I do for you? What do you need? I'd love to help, but I don't know what you need. Tell me what, and then let's see if that makes sense. Agents do the same thing. It's where can you add value? Quit trying to get value until you add value. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much always, when I'm talking to buyer clients, I pretty much always lead with, my team and I would love to assist you out with your home search in Tennessee. Can I get a little bit of info about what you're looking for? Leave it open for them to say, hey, these are my needs. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. I leave it open. Yep. And if they want to tell me their whole life story about their cousin Sally, Aunt Susie, whatever, is moving here because somebody got a job and whatever else, and like, great. I got the whole life story. It's all written there. I'm like, fantastic. Now I know exactly why. I know the why. Now let's get into the what.
Yep. No doubt.
Go ahead, Robert.
I know. I just have to wait for you guys now. And then
this is great. This is phenomenal. Robert can't talk. So I didn't realize how much I would enjoy this.
Yeah, this is probably the most lively you've ever been.
Yeah, that's because I get subdued by both of you guys that talk more than I do usually. So I just like, all right, I'll just sit here because you guys both go at it. I'm like, I'll just sit right here.
So that's a good learning point. We'll have to let Chris open the show So we know that he gets on a tangent, and then we can help move that along just by interjecting and then give it back to Chris. We got it.
But if you guys are talking about crypto, NFT, coins, changing the future, whatever, I'm like going to take a nap. So
that's funny.
I don't know that we've talked about that in a while, though.
I know. I'm just,
yeah.
That was like the furthest thing that I'm the most unlikely thing that I can talk about and have an active conversation.
Yeah, I got you.
That we've discussed.
All right. So do me a favor, though. So you guys still talked a lot in generalizations. Give me some more specific examples of things lenders have done, whether for you or for their clients or, just in any case.
I'll give you a perfect example. I just had the conversation yesterday. So an agent had reached out to me about some coaching and training. I bumped into her in a networking Zoom that we were doing actually yesterday. And in the conversation, funny, she's in Tennessee. Shout out if you're listening, Knoxville. And she says, hey, I'm top producing agent in the Knoxville market, but business is slowing down in Tennessee, right? Of course, it's slowing down everywhere. Ever you guys are in Tennessee, you know this. And so I said, well, have you ever thought about working with some investors? I have a lender who has a phenomenal investor product, and it's a great partnership that you could build because they're always looking to help you grow. And so I said, that sounds interesting. Well, I'd love you to make the connection. So I made the connection between that agent and the lender just to say, hey, great agent out in the Knoxville market. Would love to talk to you about the loan product. Great lender that can service all these states. I think you two should talk. That's it, done. Later that day, that lender called me back just to say, hey, Walt, thanks so much for making the connection. Wanted to give you a quick rundown on the conversation that we had. The agent is great. They're out in Knoxville. I think we're going to be able to do some stuff together. They're doing great things. Here's kind of where they're at. And because he knows I'm a coach, he gave me some information to say, hey, you might want to just ask this question because it sounds like from the conversation we had, they may be looking to move in this direction. And with your coaching background and the team that you work with, Chris and Robert, it might be a good conversation about team building in the future for that agent. I don't know another lender out there that would bother to call me back to say, hey, Walt, really appreciate the connection you made. I'd like to bring that back around because there's more value you can add to that agent. Here's how to add that value. And that lender will, of course, do the exact same thing for clients for me. Hey, I talked to the client about buying the house, but oh, by the way, they also are going to need X, Y, and Z from those other partners that you have because this is their actual situation. This is where they're at right now. We had a great conversation about what they're going to need outside of the transaction. Here's how you can add more value to your client based on the conversation I had with them.
All right, Chris,
that's a value-added partnership.
Let me say something, Chris, and then you can.
Yep, go for it.
Okay.
So I think, I know, right? This is kind of fun. I think that you bring up a couple really good points. Is our relationship with all of our partners is built on trust, but trust should go hand in hand with accountability. Because if someone's not willing to be held accountable, then how can you trust them? Quite honestly, right? You take vows with your spouse. You say, I'm not going to cheat on you. Great. I'm going to hold you accountable to that. If I see you flirting with a guy, I'm going to have a problem with that. And if you have a problem that I have a problem, we have a problem, right?
My wife doesn't mind that much when I flirt with other guys. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's the one relationship that I'm still able to attain new ones. So, once you're married, you can have new bromances, but that's it.
With what I'm kind of the point of that is that as we go through these plans with the agents on the team, where we go and deep dive into everything they're doing, a question, as you probably both have realized, I keep asking them is, what are your partners doing to improve the situation of the leads that you're sending them? And if the agent doesn't know, and the agent is too afraid to ask, that means there's no trust. And then depending on how that lender responds to someone being held accountable, why on earth would anybody be worried? Why any lender? Why would they ever be worried about an agent saying, "Hey, what's your process? What are you doing after I send you a lead?" Is that not a reasonable question? Right? And so there needs to be an agent first needs to take responsibility for themselves. If they are the purveyor of the lead, the procuring cause, it's their job to steer the ship. They need to know what's going on, and they need to know what their partners do. They need to hold their partners accountable for it. Lenders, we're talking about things that you can do, right? One is be humble and be willing to be held accountable. Be willing to say, you know what? I don't have a process. Let's build one. It's okay. Most lenders I know are as green as the agents that come in too. They're not taught basic relationships. They're not taught nurturing. They're taught we're the best mortgage company ever. And our VAs and our automated systems and everything is perfect and great and we're amazing. Just like all the brokerages say too. But the reality is that it's a personal touch and it's going to come from the lender. So I want to give a shout out to Larry. Larry is, Larry the lender. Shout out to Jennifer Otto. Shout out to Paul Conti. Shout out to, there's more lenders. Forgive me if I didn't mention your name, but where each of them understands that the responsibility to build relationships is on them. It's not on the agent. It's not on the client. It's on them. And so, I say that with what you're saying, Walter, is because I'm assuming I know who that lender is, and he took it upon himself to establish a bridge. He didn't wait for you. He said, I'm going to build trust with Walter. I'm going to bring him value because he asked you those questions initially. He said, what do you want? What do you want for your business? Right?
Exactly.
So that's a great example. So Chris, just kind of like how Walter broke down an example, give me a solid example, an instance that you've had in the past with a lender that impressed you.
So one of my main lenders that I've used. So he and I both. So he'd been in the finance industry a long time. He started doing mortgages about the same time I started selling real estate, and we ended up doing the very first deal I did. He funded it. It was a purchase for myself, but along the way we started quickly building that relationship. I found that he was like-minded, like myself, very client service oriented, answers the phone 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. If he's up, he feels like if he doesn't get back to you, like he's letting the ball drop. Like, to me, that's how my mind works, unfortunately. So I want to take care of clients, whatever time it is. I don't really care. So especially early on as I was building things up. So he was always there, and he's always been that way, and it hasn't changed. But as we were building up, I pretty much told him, I'm like, hey, look, I will send you business, but I want business in return. I want the friends and family, right? I want the people that, the loans that you are generating without an agent on the other side, the seller leads that you get over time, whatever that looks like. That's the business that I want. That's what I expect if we're going to build this relationship. And he's like, yep, absolutely. You know how many lenders that have told me that they were in on that? So he's the only one that's ever come through and actually sent me pre-approved clients and seller leads as well. So my first full year in the business, I did a little over $2 million worth of business that he sent me from scratch. Like, I would not have had it if it was not for him. So that was huge. Literally, I mean, for me, he's always done everything he said he was going to do, and then some. And he wears it on his sleeve if something is like even starting to go south in any way, shape, or form, or if something falls by the wayside. it is 100% on his sleeve, and he owns up to everything, and he will take credit, and he will go the extra mile on literally everything to fix it. It's pretty incredible. Literally, we had a buyer deal that was a condo, and everybody's deal in that condo complex kept falling through. So there was I guess there was in Florida, there was a building that like collapsed or something, and that started making the condo restrictions even harder and harder over the last year. And there was a unit here in Nolensville where there was some repair work that hadn't been done. There was some HOA swaps over, and there was a lot of issues with the condo complex. Well, there was like 5 or 6 condos under contract in that development that nobody could get it to fund, because none of the lenders were going that extra mile to go as far as they could and get every answer, and just kept going and digging through paperwork and going back to the underwriters and saying, hey, look, I know that like we don't have info on this, but this was 8 months ago. I know we need the last 6 months. This documentation came in 8 months. And he basically built this entire like packet together in order to make this loan go through. Himself on the lender side, not waiting for somebody else to do it. And our deal closed. And then all of a sudden that like the 3, 4, 5 other deals, whatever it was, that none of the other lenders could close because nobody was doing that work. Nobody was going that extra mile to fix things. He got all that business. He got all of them. Like they all started calling him. They're like, because I had called all of those agents, all the listing agents myself too, trying to find this info. Like we were both working. We were trying to find the info. I'd called listing agents on all these different houses. Like, hey, are you guys having this lending issue? Like, what are you doing to jump through it? So literally all the listing agents started calling me back though. Once they saw it closed, they started calling me, and I was just passing his number out left and right. But that's all because he just grinded it out. Like he literally would not stop until it was resolved. That's the kind of lender that I like working with. So I don't have to worry about it. And you know, he, even when I was making calls, he was like, dude, you don't have to worry about it. He's like, I'm on this. But I don't really sit passively by either. I'm going to actively fix whatever it is too. So knowing that I have that, most lenders won't do it and can't do it.
Yeah. One thing that I'm hearing from both of you is be honest. Agents and lenders, when you're working together, be honest and clear about what you want from the relationship, and then be humble enough to ask what you can give. You know, I remember, and this goes on both sides, and I've talked about this before, and it's actually very shameful. We're going to laugh at it first, but the reality behind it is honestly very shameful. Is I remember sitting in, I won't name the brokerage and I won't name who, teaching me as a brand new agent what to do. And one of the things they said is, you ever want a free lunch, just tell a lender or post on Facebook that you're looking for a new lender, and you will get lunches for the next 2 weeks straight. And being broke at the time, and not having a lender, they didn't say it as a joke, by the way. So I listened to them. Well, here's the thing. The reality behind that, after we laugh, is that is so deceptive. Mm-hmm. That is a horrible thing to say, even as a joke, because this is someone's livelihood. The other thing too is that I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, those aren't productive lunches. You waste a lot of time pretending that you're interested in someone that you're really not interested in, because you haven't established any facts, any truths, any value. And lunch is a distraction. It's not an asset to the relationship. It's a distraction. The second thing is, you should be going and meeting with people to talk about business. This isn't bribery. They shouldn't have to bribe you. I could care less if a lender never bought me lunch again. I don't care. You know what I do care about? Whether they buy a client a lunch who really needs it. whether they answer the calls, whether they go the extra mile, like you're saying. So on the agent side of things, you need to be honest. Don't meet with people if you're not looking, and then be clear up front what you're looking for. I would have lenders, inspectors, and so I always had questions that I put up front to them first. I go, listen, I don't know you, and maybe you're as great as you say. How am I supposed to know? Mm-hmm. I don't have a reason to risk my business, though, my quality. So here's what you need to do if you want to talk business, is you need to tell me how you are actually different. And I tell them, you can't say that you have great communication, that you care about your clients, that you have a wide variety of loan products. Listen, I got 10 other lenders who also have all those qualities. So if all of them were in a room together, I need you to say right in front of what you'd be proud to say in front of them with all confidence, what you would do differently that they wouldn't. Then send that to me. And then if that connects, and I always tell them, you can ask those exact same questions of me, because I do know what set me apart. I had to look in the mirror and say, how am I different? Especially as a new agent, you really got to figure that out. How are you different? You might not be different in the beginning, by the way, which means you're just going to have to work harder. And that's what I ended up doing. I wasn't different at first. So I just worked harder. And then as I worked harder, I started to notice the gaps that other agents weren't doing. But it only came from daily persistence. Shout out to Mark, who set extraordinary goals for himself as a new agent. When I brought up that based off the goals he wants, he's going to have to bump up his numbers. And so he said, all right. So that honesty is basically what I'm trying to say is, the honesty on both sides in this relationship is really, really critical. Right. So we talked a lot about, partnerships and lenders. I think we'd love to talk about that subject. So let's talk about kind of, Walter, you made a post, and I feel like there's, for the next 3 months, we're probably going to be, maybe longer, every week going to be touching on this subject, which is interest rates and kind of the fear, whether warranted or not, the fear around the market right now. So let's talk a little bit about that from both of you. We'll start with Walter, but Walter, what's your take on what's happening with interest rates and what's happening with buyer and seller sentiment?
Well, I'm not afraid of the market, but unfortunately, I can't share that mentality with everybody. The numbers are pretty clear. They're painting a picture, and a lot of agents, for better or worse, are perpetuating a fear right now because they simply don't understand the data themselves. And so they're parroting the same thing that all the big mainstream news sources that do finance and economic forecasting are doing. So I will say, from last Friday to this Friday, interest rates ticked down just a smidge. Right, they're still substantially higher than they were this time last year, but they did tick down just a bit. That's a temporary glitch, but take advantage of it. Right, go get your loan. Go lock it in at 6.5 to 6 3/4, as opposed to 7 1/4. Because by the end of the year, we're going to be higher. There's Jennifer Otter. Yep, absolutely. Rates are down this week. Exactly right. So that's a bright spot, right? Now, is that going to offset the fear that's being perpetuated in the market right now, with a lot of the conversation being, well, interest rates are going up, therefore buyer demand is going down, therefore the housing prices are going to go down, therefore it's, who knows what's going to happen? Here's what we know is going to happen. We know this because we can go read a history book. We know that 5 years from now, home prices are going to be worth more than they are right now. How do I know that? In the history of the entire real estate market, there's never been a 5-year period where prices weren't up on average in a 5-year period. Even the crash of 2009, 5 years later, almost every market prices were higher than what they started before the crash of 2009, any 5-year period. So I know that, short of a nuclear holocaust, knock on wood, the homes that I buy right now are going to be worth more. And because I've been paying a mortgage for 5 years, the equity spread is available to me 5 years from now. If I'm not sure what the market's going to do. Maybe the prices come up. Maybe they go down a little bit. Wells Fargo just put out an article that's circulating quite a bit. They're basically, the gist of the article was, we expect home prices nationally to decrease roughly 5 to 5.5% over the course of 2023. And then interest rates will likely come back down a bit as inflation gets in check, which will cause a run-up of prices in 2024 as buyers go back into the market when interest rates come back down. Now, it's kind of, I use the gasoline analogy, right? Here's how this works for people's mindset. When gas prices were $2.50 a gallon and they went up to $4 a gallon, everybody went, holy smokes, oh my goodness, the gas prices. Now that gas prices have gone from $4 to $3.50, everyone's going, whoo, gas prices are coming down. It's not anywhere near the $2.50 it was. That's kind of how interest rates are going to go, right? We're not probably, this is Walt Key's opinion. I'm not a lender. I'm not an economic forecaster with a PhD, although I do have a 4.0 in my business degree. I know a little bit about finance. Interest rates are not going back to the 2s. They're not going back to the 3s. They're going to run up to 7, maybe 8%, and then they're going to come back down into something in the 5 to 6 range, which is perfectly normal. But that drop from, say, 8 to 6 is going to feel like, whoo, finally. And people are going to dive back in the market, and prices are going to keep going back up. We're going to have the same buyer demand, because what we're having right now, we have shortage of inventory. We have new home sales not outperforming the market. Maybe 5s, Jen, maybe. We're going to have, we're looking at the numbers right now. New home starts are down in the double digits. So we're not producing the inventory that already is needed for the buyer demand. As soon as the buyers decide the interest rates are in an area they're comfortable again, they're going to flood the market. Inventory shortage is going to drive the prices right back up, which is why Wells Fargo, which I would argue maybe not necessarily smarter than me, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They're saying temporary blip on the radar through 2023, run up in 2024 as the interest rate and then as inflation gets a handle. It's probably fairly accurate. So if I'm buying houses because I need my family to have a place to live, I don't need to worry about it. Buy the house you need right now. If interest rates come down to 6 or 5 or 5.5 in 2023 or early 2024, refi the daggum house, no big deal. But the price appreciation is most likely going to continue to move in your favor while you pay down the mortgage and build equity. Go ahead and buy the house. It's okay. It's not going to crash on you. Walt Key's opinion, past performance is not indicative of future results. All that fancy stuff.
I really... like, as I'm sitting here listening to you talk, I want some of those. Remember is it Matt Kramer, the show with all the bells and whistles?
Jim Cramer.
Bye. Yeah, I really, really want to get some of those buzzers.
Yeah. No,
so you get all amped up.
Jen's a lender. She's smarter than I am. She's telling you in the chat, folks. Interest rates will come back down, maybe to the 5s. Buy the house. If Jen said it, it's true. Buy the house.
Listen, there's something super important about data. It's not perfect, but it's going to give you an idea better than guessing ever will.
Yeah. It's also not emotional, which is important. The data is sterile. Whether you believe this, you believe that, you feel this, you're scared of this, the data is unemotional. So if you can detach yourself from the emotion and the fear and the uncertainty, and just read the numbers and say, this is what has happened in the past. This is what it looks like right now. Therefore, I believe the data shows me X. And you move off the data with an unemotional, unafraid approach. That's the way to do business.
And a lot of this stuff is very cyclical. And that's a really important thing to remember too, is that for some reason we have a ridiculous notion in our head that things should always be going up.
Nope.
There has to be dips and lows, because without lows there'd be no highs, there'd be no averages.
Yeah.
You know, we live in an imperfect world with currency, how many currencies in the world, and how many wars, and how many things that influence change, for better or for worse. You have to expect that. That's like expecting never to be sick ever, just to always be perfect, and to always have just everything you need all the time. There will be times where money is tight. Listen, even Elon Musk has had more than one time in his life where he almost lost everything. You want to talk about a low? Imagine being the richest man on earth and almost losing all your money. There's going to be lows. There's going to be highs. The data is teaching you how to interpret it a little bit, so you kind of know, okay, I'm in the right place. If you start to go outside of that data, that's when you start to get to reel yourself back in, get rooted, get grounded, right? Make decisions as with as much information as possible. And for agents listening, make sure that you actually know what you're talking about. If you can't turn around and talk about it like the way that we're talking about it right now, then you need to go get educated. And then you need partners who are educated. I've had lenders who also preach the bad news. Listen, I don't want you to preach good or bad news. I want you to preach the truth, and let the client decide for themselves. So it's really important. Education, guys. Education is super, super important. So Chris, you know, you've spent a lot of time working with new agents, coaching them, you know, leading by example. What are some things that you're seeing new agents do right now that you believe will be positive contributors to their success in the future? Like, what are some actions, some things that they're doing? Because right now, again, there's a lot of fear, but there are some agents who are coming in and saying, you know what, I am nervous, I am afraid, but I'm going to do this anyway. Should we say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z?
So a lot of them that are coming in, I always tell everybody, do as I say, don't do as I do. Back whenever I was first starting out, I did not use a CRM. So I think now is a great time for them to get really, really good at putting clients into their CRM, staying consistent with it, having that correct follow-up, because they might not be out showing as many houses as when the market was hot. They might not be closing as many deals and stuff as when the market was hot. So it's a good time to work on those business building tasks that nobody really likes doing. Nobody likes using a CRM. I don't like using a CRM, but it's the parenting model. Do as I say, not as I do. So I would recommend that they, once again, put all their clients into CRM, get a system down, know that as business ramps up and the next time that we have this big swing, that they're not going to get lost in the mix. You know, I've got one agent right now that because of the you know, kind of area he's directed his business, he said he's trying to not let his clients see him sweat, because he's still running at it. He's still going hard because he's doing a lot of land deals, and he's got some investor clients. He's like, I'm treading water, because he's running as fast as he can because he's still doing deals. But you know, you've got to have that base. You got to have that basically baseline to build your business off of, and then build a really, really, really big stack of wood. So by that, I mean your pipeline. You've got to build a really large client database, start building new relationships, and make sure, like I said, that those all end up in your CRM. That way, when the market does turn, and, you know, maybe we get another buyer frenzy, even if it's 2 years from now, we get a buyer frenzy 2 years from now, and you're the agent that followed up with those particular people for 2 years, you are more likely to be the agent that gets that business rather than if you don't do it at all. So you can either stay consistent, you can do a handful of deals. Let's say you do 5 deals over the next 2 years, 10 deals over the next 2 years, whatever that looks like, because the market's slower. but you've done the work now. Your business, you can take market share whenever it ramps back up and everybody is starting to buy again. And then you'll be sitting in a much better position than if you sit here and say, well, nobody's buying right now, so I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Think about it this way for the agents out there who are seeing a slowdown in their market, because most markets are perfectly normal. Think about the amount of time and energy you've spent servicing clients in the last, let's say, 2 years. How busy you have been doing that business. This is fact. You can quote me on it. You can put it on your calendar. If you keep that same level of intensity, that same level of activity, actively prospecting and building new relationships instead of servicing clients because the market's a little slower, when 2024 rolls around and the market starts moving again, you are going to blow your fellow real estate agents out of the water with the level of business you're going to do. It will be an exponential growth in your business if you don't get lazy, you don't get down on yourself, you don't get complacent right now. You now have more time to go grow and build your database because you're not servicing quite as many clients, and that will blow up your business when clients start shopping again. Don't get lazy. This is the time to take the market share. I got nothing else to say about that.
I wasn't sure. So,
and if you don't, I do have one more thing to say. Watch this. And if you don't know how, that right there will help you. Shameless plug for the book.
I was like, what is he pointing
You
at?
don't see the startup agent?
I don't see it.
We don't see it now.
Look right there. The startup agent. Book.
Oh, okay. You need to move your shelf a little bit closer for the people in the back.
Maybe I'll move a book closer. I'm probably not going to move my whole shelf just to promote the book on a live. That wasn't really the goal.
So,
here he goes.
Walter, why don't
better?
Walter, what is that book about? I have not heard about it, seen about it, or anything. Is that even?
Yeah. He's heard about it. He's seen it.
Can you tell me what the Startup Agent book is about, please?
No.
I have been wondering.
Nobody wants to hear about that. In a super, super short summary, the Startup Agent is a program. It's an accelerator. It's designed to launch and or grow your business in ways that you've never thought were possible. The book is just kind of the front man, right? That's the face. That's the pretty face of the program. You buy the book, you're going to get a ton of great knowledge. No kidding, step-by-step how-to guide to grow and expand your business. When you buy the book, you're also going to get access to a resource hub that we've built that has tons of tools to help you grow your business. I was talking about it earlier with Ray on our live. The book is the roadmap. But think about when you're out treasure hunting, right? You got to have your map to know where to go to get to the treasure, but you also got to have other tools and other resources to dig down and get it, right? You need the right gear, the right tools to do it. So the book is the roadmap. The content hub that we created behind the scenes is all of the other tools and resources to help you execute on everything that you're going to learn. So that's it. It's on Amazon. Go grab it. You're going to love it. If you don't love it, call me. I'll give you your money back. You're going to love it.
So for everybody who's listening right now, we spent a lot of time talking about partnerships, data. So let me ask you this. Do you know what's happening in the market right now? Do you know how to answer the questions that your clients are absolutely asking in their head? Because here's at the end of the day, and I've talked about this a few times, because this is, for me, I believe this to be the truth. No client is looking for a best friend agent. No client's looking for, they're not even looking really deep down inside. They're not looking for a partnership even. What they're really looking for, in my opinion, is someone to validate and tell them they're not making a bad choice. Because think about it. If They want to sell their house and they're talking to you about it. Deep down inside, they've already made a decision. I think that the value of this outweighs any inconveniences, but, and they won't usually say this, but I'm scared. I'm scared that I don't have all the data. I'm scared that there's questions I'm not asking and getting the correct answers for. So tell me, Walter, tell me, agent, that I'm making a good decision. That's all they're really asking. Tell me that I'm making a good decision, that now is a good time to buy, that the numbers make sense, that now is a good time to sell. Tell me I'm not screwing up my life. I'm not making things worse. You see, most people, there's a study done by this, and I'm going to butcher it a little bit. Most people aren't actually trying to improve their lives. They're just trying to keep the good that they have. Because if people were constantly trying to improve their lives, let's be real, everybody would be at the gym. Everybody would have great sleeping habits. Everybody would be nicer to each other. Everybody. The reality is that we're just most of the time just trying to survive as humans. And we look at other humans and other decisions in life through a survival lens. And so when a person is talking to an agent, they're not there to have fun. They want you to tell them that they're making a good decision. You need to be able to provide them with the data to help them reason through, not tell them, but imply to them through data whether their decision is wise or not. So if you can't do that, you're setting them up for failure. You're setting yourself up for failure. And you're actually destroying your own community because you are a leader. We have seen, guys, oh my gosh, we have seen what one powerhouse agent can do for an entire city. We have seen Mark Verzile and Brad Vanderwall save Calgary from destruction through their decision, through their data, through their belief. We have seen Kelly McGill out in Clarksville start to reshape Clarksville. We have seen this. The power of what we do, but the power only exists if it's backed by something. It's got to be backed by something, and that something has to be the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that got really deep. It sounds way deeper, too, because of the way I'm
the
talking.
voice just made it a whole different level.
So what are your thoughts on that, guys? You know,
I mean, I agree. The data is never going to lie to you. So it's always going to be true.
Okay. Well, that was brief.
Sorry, that's it. I'll let Chris talk. He's
I concur.
Okay. Do you concur?
there you go.
What?
Concur. Do you concur? I concur.
Such a good movie.
I just had to be more brief than Walter.
Yeah. So you chose briefs over boxers.
It's those briefs.
All right. Well, we got 10 more minutes. What else
I
are we going
know.
to talk about?
I was expecting you guys to like have more to say about that long little spiel that I did.
Nope. Nobody wants to follow that. It's like, you got to say, you got to time that right, Robert. You got to work on that, Robert. You got to time that right. Because you end the show on that. And everyone's like, whoa. Like, that's it. And then, okay, we'll see you next week. Like, that's where you leave it.
All right. Well, then how about we just do some filler stuff at the end?
Yeah.
Guys, give us some objections and questions that you're facing in the industry. If you're watching this live or you're watching this as a replay, we still check the comments as long as I don't miss them. Tag our names, add us as a friend. Tell us what you're struggling with. Maybe you don't know where to find the data. Maybe you don't know how to articulate the data. How do you say it to someone else? Because you can't just go and spew out all this facts. You got to present it in a way that people can understand. Go ahead, Chris. I see you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I struggle with agent complacency. That's the biggest objection that I see on a daily basis because I'm constantly talking to agents about, whether they want to grow or scale their business. And, so many agents, they're just complacent. They don't care if they're selling houses or not. They'll stay where they are and sell 0 homes because they love their broker, or because they're comfortable where they are, or because they're not willing to do whatever it takes to actually build a business. They're just happy doing nothing. It's crazy. So, or they'll say, yeah, well, I'll look into this maybe in 6 months. I'm like, in 6 months, that's how long it takes to build a pipeline, is 6 months.
Yep.
You bring up a good point, Chris. It kind of goes back to our theme earlier about trust. How do we build trust? Most people don't understand this, the psychological side. The number one way we build trust is not by words. People have learned that talk is cheap. From politicians to, if we were good at building trust, divorce wouldn't be at 50%. Yeah. If we were good at building trust, people would trust real estate agents. In fact, instead, we are one of the top industries where people distrust. They have distrust in real estate agents. Doctors are up there, and there's a reason why. Of course, politicians. Can you imagine? As real estate agents, we're right up there with politicians. Part of the reason why is because agents are a bunch of liars. Some of them, they lie out of fear, but it's not an excuse. But they lie out of fear. And let me tell you, a lie will never last. It will always come to light eventually. There is no such thing as a lie that doesn't get caught, because the truth is the only thing that lasts. It's the only thing that wins. So when you turn around and you tell people it's a good reason to buy, but you don't know why it is, then you're a liar. And that will come out. They will feel that. They will know that. And then the whole industry suffers. Versus you saying, let me take a look at the data. That's how simple it is. And then if you've got good lenders like Jennifer Otto, if you've got good lenders like Paul Conti, Larry Lee, and others, if you've got good mentors, good brokers, good insurance agents, good people around you, you will be able to answer the data with data from the right people. You know, when someone asks me about taxes, unless it's a very general rule of thumb, you know what I say? I have got the best CPA ever. I'm going to actually put you in touch with him. And also, I'll go get that answer as quickly as possible. Don't be a liar, guys. Now, my shameless book plug. We're all liars. Great timing. Listen, don't be a liar, guys.
Beautiful product promotion. That was perfect.
Right?
I'm going to go ahead and promote my book really quick, too. It's a pad of sticky notes, and you can draw stick figures on them, make flashcards.
I'll buy that all day.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's a pretty useful item.
It is useful.
So lying, guys. I think one of the biggest reasons why people don't trust us is because we lie to them. And that's the truth. And we allow lies as well. We see other agents doing things and we just go, yeah, well, it is what it is. Now listen, clients are looking at you through the lens, and then you are a representation of the entire industry. It sucks. That's a burden you shouldn't bear. I know. But that means that even on your worst days, you don't lie. Even on your worst days. And when you make mistakes, like I have made plenty of times, you go and you tell them, that was on me. And here's how I'm going to fix it. Here's how I'm going to fix it. And you hold your partners accountable. You hold your peers accountable. You hold your broker accountable. I cannot believe we have had 5 or 6 agents in the process of joining us over the last few weeks. And I'm going to be a shout out to our brokerage team, okay, who caught every single one of the incorrect forms that was sent by other brokers. Guys, brokers, agents are trusting you. No, do your job. As a broker, I'm going to say it right out here. It's not as important for you to teach them lead gen because legally, that's not what you get a broker's license for, and that's not why you become a broker. Okay? You can be a coach and teach lead gen. You don't need to be a broker and teach lead gen. You have to protect legally. That's why we were required by law to hang a license with you. So brokers, it shouldn't have been 3 to 4 different brokerages that all sent an outdated form. And it sounds silly, but there is a requirement by TREC, which is our Tennessee Real Estate Commission. There's a requirement that says if an updated form is out there, you have to use it. And if you don't, you are in violation. It is an invalid form. So there's a lie. There's a lie happening there, right? A lie of a broker making a promise that they will look out for the best interest. And if it was just one broker, you turn around and say, it's just one broker. But the reality is it's no different with the agents. This is commonplace. Don't let it be. Every one of those agents needs to go back to their broker. Well, actually, they don't need to because they're moving. But if it's in an instance where you're not leaving the brokerage, you need to go back to your broker and hold them accountable and say, hey, listen, I look to you. I look to you. And if they have a problem with that, you know it's time to go. I love the fact, even though it's annoying as heck, I love the fact of how strict our brokerage is. This is the most strict brokerage I've ever had when it comes to legal paperwork. And I'm grateful for it. Because I don't want to lie.
I wasn't at first, but I am now.
Well, nobody is. Right. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's painful.
Yeah, I wasn't at first. I was like, man, this sucks. But once you see what can happen, once, all the documentation that you've done on a contract is requested by a lawyer for not because of something that you've done, but just because of a family issue that you can't control and people arguing over who owns what house or whatever else. And you get all of your documentation subpoenaed by a lawyer, it starts to make you realize how quickly something legal can come up.
Yeah.
So, knowing some of that stuff, yeah, it's nice having to not worry about it because I know that they've caught all my mistakes and they made me fix it.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
How do we do?
All right, good job with the filler. We've only got 2 minutes left. We can wrap it up now. That's good. Perfect.
Jake, thanks for tuning in, brother.
All that legal mumbo jumbo
value. With my smooth jazz voice. Jennifer, thanks for tuning in. Jennifer, thank you for being a light in the mortgage industry. Jennifer Otto is one of the biggest inspirations I have when it comes to knowing data. She has definitely inspired me and empowered me to know data. Thank you, Walter, for constantly talking about data, constantly talking about the truth. Chris, thank you for leading by example of being willing to say, here's what I do know and here's what I don't know. And I'm going to go find it out. There's lots I don't know. And there's going to always be things we don't know. So guys, I encourage you. I know my smooth jazz voice was a little fun today. But why don't you give us some topics, some struggles that you're having in your business? Throw them down in the comments. Tag us, add us as friends. Have some people around you who won't lie to you. Get a community around you who won't lie to you, who won't be complacent, as Chris said. Be around people. Do you know why we do this live, guys? It's accountability for ourselves. When we show up live, we're telling people who we are and what we're doing. And you can hold us accountable. When we say something wrong, it's public. You can correct us. You can prove us wrong, right? We're doing this because we said we care about our industry, and this holds us accountable to that. All right. I appreciate it. I will see everybody next Friday, 9 Wait.
EXPCon.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I'll be flying back on Saturday. I might be able to jump on a Friday. We'll see.
Let's see if we can. Are we going to do our first live session of all of us together in person?
That would be neat. If the Wi-Fi is good in the hotel room, we can make that work.
Okay. Okay, guys. Definitely try and tune in next
Mandalay
Friday.
Bay.
Oh man, let's do it. Yeah, from the sauna,
Ooh, yeah, I'm in on that. Now we're talking.
in the hot tub.
All right. Tune in for next week. It's going to be amazing.